Your energy just doesn't match our aesthetic, Brooke. We need people around us who elevate the vibe, and honestly, you kind of bring the room down. Madison's voice was light, almost cheerful, like she was explaining why she'd returned a sweater that didn't fit. My brother Tyler sat beside her on the FaceTime call, his eyes fixed somewhere off screen, saying nothing. 8 months of planning, $18,000 of my own money, and 2 weeks before their destination wedding in Cabo San Lucas, his fiancée was uninviting me because my energy was too boring. I stared at the screen for 3 full seconds before I responded. Got it, I said. Good luck with everything. I ended the call at 7:43 p.m. on a Thursday evening. By 7:51, I had opened the folder on my laptop labeled Tyler Wedding Vendors and begun reviewing every single contract I had signed over the previous 8 months. By 9:30, I had a legal pad filled with notes and a plan that would cost them exactly $82,000 in consequences. My name is Brooke Castellano. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a corporate tax accountant for a mid-sized firm in San Diego. My job is finding patterns in numbers that other people miss, documenting every transaction, and anticipating problems before they become catastrophes. I'm the person companies hire when they need someone who actually reads the fine print. Detail-oriented is an understatement. Thorough is closer. Some might even say obsessive. Madison called it boring. I call it the reason I was able to dismantle their wedding in 72 hours without breaking a single law. If you've ever been the responsible sibling who gets taken for granted, the one who shows up, writes the check, and then gets treated like furniture, you know exactly what this feels like. Stick around until the end of this one. The receipts are worth it. Let me take you back. Tyler is 4 years younger than me, and from the moment he was born, he operated under a different set of rules in our family. I don't say that with bitterness anymore. It's just factual. When I got B's in high school, my parents asked why I wasn't trying harder. When Tyler got B's, they praised his effort. When I graduated summa cum laude from UCSD with an accounting degree, my mother said it was nice, but asked when I was going to find a husband. When Tyler dropped out of his communications program to pursue content creation, my parents funded his apartment for 2 years while he figured things out. The content creation never materialized into anything substantial. Tyler bounced between jobs, marketing coordinator positions that never lasted more than a year, always leaving because the company didn't appreciate his vision. Our parents supplemented his income quietly, and when I pointed out that I had been financially independent since I was 22, my mother told me that Tyler just needed more support because he was finding himself. He was 25 years old. He'd been finding himself for a decade. I stopped arguing about it. I had built a good life in San Diego. I had a condo in North Park that I'd saved 3 years for the down payment on. I had a job I was genuinely good at, colleagues who respected my work, and a best friend named Carla, who had been my roommate in college and now worked as a paralegal downtown. My life was quiet and stable, and I had made peace with the fact that my family would never see me the way I saw myself. Then Tyler met Madison. Madison Reyes was beautiful in that Instagram-curated way, all beachy waves and perfect contouring and outfits that looked effortless but probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She worked as a brand consultant, which, as far as I could tell, meant she helped small businesses pick fonts for their logos and charged them $3,000 for the privilege. She had 40,000 followers on Instagram and spoke exclusively in words like aesthetic and intentional and alignment. She and Tyler were engaged within 8 months of dating. The proposal was elaborate, involving a rented yacht, a photographer, and a drone. It went viral in their circle. My parents were ecstatic. The wedding they announced would be a destination event in Cabo San Lucas. 3 days of festivities, a villa rental, a ceremony on the beach at sunset. The budget they had was $14,000. The wedding they wanted would cost somewhere north of $60,000. My mother called me 2 weeks after the engagement. Tyler had mentioned to her that he was stressed about the logistics. Destination weddings were complicated. There were so many moving parts. Wouldn't it be wonderful if someone organized could help coordinate things? I knew what she was actually asking. He wants me to plan his wedding, I said flatly. He wants your help, she corrected. You're so good with details, Brooke. You'd be perfect for this. Does he have a wedding planner? They're trying to save money. Besides, your family. It would mean so much to him. I should have said no. I knew even then that this would not end with a thank you and a heartfelt toast at the reception. But 29 years of family conditioning is hard to override. I agreed to help. Help turned into something else entirely within the first month. Tyler and Madison had ideas, many ideas, a specific resort that cost twice what they could afford, a specific florist in Cabo who charged premium rates for destination events, a specific photographer whose packages started at $8,000, a specific caterer, a specific band, a specific aesthetic that required custom signage and imported linens, and a lighting designer who specialized in sunset ceremonies. What they did not have was money to pay for any of it. We're putting together the deposits, Tyler told me on a call in March, 5 months before the August wedding. But some of these vendors need payment upfront to hold the dates. Could you maybe put it on your card and we'll pay you back before the wedding? The first charge was the photography deposit, $2,200. Tyler said he'd Venmo me by the end of the month. He didn't. The next charge was the florist, $3,100 for the retainer. Madison promised they were shuffling some things around and would have it to me within 2 weeks. They didn't. By June, I had put $18,412 on my credit cards across 11 different vendors. I had every charge documented in a spreadsheet. I had every text and email where Tyler or Madison had promised repayment. I had followed up, gently at first, then more directly. Tyler always had an excuse. Madison stopped responding to my messages entirely. Carla sat across from me at a wine bar one evening in early July, looking at my spreadsheet with her paralegal eyes. "Brooke," she said slowly, "you understand that you're the one who signed these contracts, right? They're paying me back. Are they? Because this says you've received exactly $0 in 5 months. Tyler's my brother." Carla set down her wine glass. "Tyler is using you, and his fiancée clearly can't stand you. Have you seen what she posts?" I hadn't. I didn't follow Madison on social media. Carla pulled up Instagram on her phone and scrolled through Madison's stories. There I was, in the background of a photo from a family dinner, with a caption that read, "When you have to invite the whole family, even though some people just don't get the vibe." Another story showed a screenshot of a text from someone asking who was planning the wedding, with Madison's reply, "Tyler's sister, but honestly she has zero taste. I just let her handle the boring stuff, LOL." I stared at the screen. "She's been posting stuff like this for months," Carla said quietly. "I didn't want to show you because I knew it would hurt. But Brooke, these people are not going to pay you back. They're not going to thank you. They're going to take everything you give them and then pretend you were never even involved." I wish I could say I listened to her. I wish I could say I confronted Tyler that night and demanded my money and set boundaries. Instead, I told myself it would be different once the wedding was over. I told myself Tyler would come through. I kept coordinating, kept fielding calls from vendors, kept tracking every detail in my spreadsheets, because that's what I do. Then the phone call happened. 2 weeks before the wedding, Thursday evening, 7:43 p.m. Madison's face on my screen, my brother beside her, and the words that changed everything. Your energy just doesn't match our aesthetic. After I ended the call, I sat very still for several minutes. My condo was quiet. The sun was setting outside my window, painting everything amber. I looked at the wedding folder on my laptop, the one containing 8 months of my life. Then I opened the first contract. The photography contract was clear. I was the signing party. The deposit was non-refundable only if I canceled within 14 days of the event for reasons not attributable to breach by the client. I had not breached anything. I had been removed from the wedding party. The photographer was contracted to shoot the wedding of Tyler Castellano and Madison Reyes, coordination by Brooke Castellano. If I was no longer coordinating, the terms of engagement had materially changed. I called the photographer the next morning. I explained the situation professionally. I requested cancellation and refund per the contract's change of scope clause. "Let me review this and call you back," she said. 24 hours later, I had a full refund of $2,200 and a cancellation confirmation in writing. The florist was next. Same pattern. I had signed as the coordinating party. I was no longer involved. The floral agreement specifically named me as the point of contact and decision maker. My removal constituted a fundamental change to the agreement. Another refund, $3,100. The caterer, the lighting designer, the band, the resort event coordinator, the rental company for the chairs and linens, the officiant, the hair and makeup team, the transportation company that was supposed to shuttle guests from the airport. Every single contract had my name on it. Every single contract had a clause that protected against material changes to the engagement terms. Every single one of them was cancelable with full or partial refund because I was the signing party and I was no longer part of the event. Carla helped me draft the cancellation letters. She reviewed each contract, highlighted the relevant clauses, and helped me document everything. By Sunday evening, every vendor had received formal written notice. By Wednesday, I had $14,618 back in my account, with the remaining $3,800 in processing. I did not tell Tyler or my parents what I was doing. I did not call to gloat or explain or warn them. I simply executed the cancellations and waited. The first call came on Friday, 6 days before the wedding. It was Tyler, his voice tight with panic. "Brooke, what the hell did you do? The photographer just called and said the contract was canceled. She said you canceled it." "I did." "What do you mean you did? The wedding is in 6 days. And I'm not invited to it. You made that clear." "That doesn't mean you cancel everything. I can't believe you would do this. Do you know how much we're going to have to pay to rebook?" "I imagine quite a lot. Last-minute destination bookings tend to come with premium rates." "You're unbelievable. You're actually insane. Mom was right. You've always been jealous of me." "Tyler, I paid $18,000 to plan a wedding I was then uninvited from because my energy was too boring. I have every text where you promised to pay me back. I have every email where Madison called my taste pathetic behind my back. I have documentation of every single thing. You used me, and when you were done, You threw me away. So yes, I canceled the contracts that had my name on them, every single one." He hung up without another word. My mother called 11 minutes later. She was crying. "Brooke, how could you do this to your brother? How could you be so cruel?" "I'm not being cruel, Mom. I'm protecting myself. He owes me $18,000. He uninvited me from a wedding I spent 8 months planning. His fiancée has been mocking me on social media for months." "That's not the point. Family doesn't do this to family." "Exactly. Family doesn't do what Tyler and Madison did to me. I'm done being the one who gives and gives while everyone takes." "You're going to ruin everything. This is his wedding, Brooke. His wedding." "Then he should have thought about that before he told me I wasn't welcome at it." She hung up on me too. The pressure campaign escalated over the next 48 hours. My father called, his voice carefully neutral, asking if we could talk this through like adults. He meant, could I please undo what I'd done so Tyler wouldn't be inconvenienced? I declined. My aunt sent a long Facebook message about how weddings are stressful, and everyone says things they don't mean, and surely I could be the bigger person. I didn't respond. Madison's mother, a woman I had met exactly twice, somehow got my phone number and left a voicemail calling me a bitter, jealous woman who was trying to destroy her daughter's special day. The group text was the worst. Someone added me to a family thread where relatives I barely spoke to weighed in on my sabotage. My cousin Derek said I was being petty. My grandmother, who I had always thought liked me, sent a message saying she was disappointed in my behavior. My mother posted multiple times about how Tyler was devastated and how the family needed to come together to fix this. Not one person asked what Tyler had done to me. Not one person acknowledged the $18,000 or the 8 months of work or the cruelty of being uninvited 2 weeks before the event. In their narrative, Tyler was the victim, and I was the villain who had ruined everything. Carla came over that Saturday night with a bottle of tequila and her laptop. "Don't engage," she said, pouring me a shot. "You don't owe any of them an explanation. You have documentation of everything. The contracts are canceled. The refunds are processing. Let them figure out their own mess. They're saying I'm destroying the wedding. No, they're experiencing consequences for the first time in their lives, and they don't like it. Tyler made a choice. Madison made a choice. Choices have outcomes. This is the outcome." I drank the tequila. I keep thinking maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe I should have talked to him first, given him a chance to make it right. Carla looked at me steadily. "Brooke, you gave him 8 months of chances. You gave him $18,000 of chances. You asked for repayment multiple times. You showed up every single time, and he took advantage of you every single time. There was no amount of talking that was going to change who he is. You did the only thing that would actually protect you." She was right. I knew she was right. But years of being the accommodating one, the understanding one, the one who always smoothed things over, don't disappear overnight. I spent the rest of that weekend fighting the urge to apologize, to fix, to make it better. I didn't. The wedding was scheduled for the following Saturday. I later learned, through my cousin Derek's wife, who still spoke to me, despite Derek's disapproval, exactly what happened. Tyler and Madison spent that final week in a frenzy. Every vendor I had booked was unavailable to rebook on such short notice. The photographer they found charged a 50% premium for last-minute destination work. The florist they scrambled to find could only source about half the flowers Madison wanted and charged triple the normal rate for the rush. The resort had released the event space I had reserved, and the only available slot was at 2 in the afternoon instead of sunset, which apparently caused Madison to have what Derek's wife described as a complete meltdown. The caterer was the real disaster. The original catering company I had contracted with was the only one in the area equipped to handle a 100-person event at that venue. Without them, Tyler and Madison had to settle for a restaurant that normally catered corporate lunches. The food was fine, apparently. Not the 3-course gourmet meal with local seafood that Madison had spent months planning. The band canceled entirely. There was no replacement available. They had a DJ instead, someone who primarily worked quinceañeras and apparently kept playing music Madison had specifically said she didn't want. The total additional cost, I was told, came to $82,000. This on top of what they had already planned to spend. Madison's parents covered about $40,000 of it, draining a good portion of their retirement savings. Tyler borrowed the rest, some from our parents, some from credit cards with interest rates I didn't even want to think about. The wedding itself was described as tense. The photos showed forced smiles. The sunset ceremony Madison had envisioned was instead a 2:00 affair in harsh afternoon light. Half the guests were visibly sunburned. Madison's dress, which had been ordered specifically to catch the golden hour glow, looked washed out in the midday sun. I wasn't there. I was somewhere else entirely. The refunds had all cleared by the Tuesday before the wedding. $18,412 back in my accounts. I had already requested time off from work. I had already made arrangements. I flew to the Maldives on the Thursday before Tyler's wedding. I had never been. I had always wanted to go. The overwater bungalow cost me $11,000 for 5 nights, which was more than I would normally spend on anything, but it felt right. It felt like reclaiming something. I spent the day of Tyler's wedding floating in water so clear I could see straight to the bottom. I ate fresh seafood and drank cocktails with flowers in them and read 3 books I had been meaning to read for years. I watched the sunset over the Indian Ocean, alone, in complete peace. My phone was on airplane mode the entire trip. When I finally turned it back on at the airport in Malé before my flight home, there were 47 text messages, 19 missed calls, and 8 voicemails. I deleted all of them without reading or listening. I blocked Tyler's number. I blocked Madison's. I blocked my mother and my father, and my aunt and Derek, and everyone else who had participated in the campaign to make me feel guilty for protecting myself. The extended fallout became clear over the following months, filtering through Derek's wife and a few other peripheral connections I hadn't cut off. Tyler and Madison returned from their honeymoon to a financial disaster. The credit card debt from the wedding was compounding. Madison's parents were furious about their depleted savings. The brand consultant business was not generating enough income to cover the monthly payments. Tyler's latest marketing job, predictably, didn't work out. He left in October, which I suspected meant he was asked to leave. By Christmas, they had moved out of their apartment in San Diego and into Madison's parents' house in Riverside. The house, I was told, was not large enough for 3 adults with different ideas about how to load a dishwasher. The arguments were frequent. In February, Madison filed for divorce. The marriage had lasted 6 months. The debt, however, would last considerably longer. California is a community property state, which meant Tyler was on the hook for half of everything they had borrowed together. His share came to just over $50,000. My parents reached out in March, almost a year after the wedding. My father sent an email with the subject line, "Can we talk?" The body was 3 sentences long. He said he and my mother had been thinking, and they realized they might have handled things poorly. He said they missed me. He asked if I would consider having dinner with them. I thought about it for a week. I talked to Carla about it. I talked to my therapist about it, a woman named Dr. Reyes, who I had started seeing in September and who had helped me understand that setting boundaries was not the same as being cruel. I wrote back to my father. I told him that I appreciated him reaching out. I told him that I was not ready to have dinner, but that I might be open to a phone call in the future. I told him that any relationship we had going forward would need to be built on mutual respect and acknowledgement of what had happened, not on pretending everything was fine. He never responded. That was 14 months ago. I haven't heard from my parents since. I haven't heard from Tyler at all. From what I understand, he's still living in Riverside, still paying off the wedding debt, still trying to figure things out. Madison is reportedly back to posting on Instagram, her content now focused on healing journeys and finding yourself after heartbreak. She has 52,000 followers now. I blocked her account a long time ago. My life in San Diego continued. I got promoted last fall to senior accountant with a raise that let me pay off the credit cards I had used for Tyler's wedding and start building up my savings again. I kept the spreadsheet, the one documenting every dollar I had spent and every promise Tyler had broken. Not because I needed it for anything legal, just because I wanted to remember. I traveled to Portugal in October with Carla. We drank wine in the Douro Valley and ate pastéis de nata in Lisbon and laughed until our faces hurt. I started taking a ceramics class on Saturday mornings, something I had always wanted to try but never made time for. I repainted my condo, a soft sage green that makes the morning light look like something from a magazine. I am not angry anymore. That surprised me at first. I expected the anger to linger, to calcify into something permanent, but it didn't. What I feel now is mostly just quiet, clear, like I finally set down something heavy I'd been carrying for years without realizing how much it was weighing me down. Tyler called once about 6 months ago. I didn't answer, but he left a voicemail. His voice was smaller than I remembered, tired and uncertain. He said he'd been thinking about things. He said he knew he'd made mistakes. He said he hoped someday we could talk. I listened to the message once, then I deleted it. Maybe someday I'll be ready to have that conversation. Maybe I'll reach a point where I can hear his apology, if he ever actually offers one, and decide whether it's enough. But I'm not there yet, and I've learned that I don't have to be. I don't owe anyone forgiveness on their timeline. I don't owe anyone access to my life just because we share genetics. The therapist asked me once what I would say to someone who'd been in my situation, someone who'd given everything to family and been discarded when they were no longer useful. I thought about it for a while. Then I said this: document everything. Not because you're planning revenge, but because when people try to rewrite history, you'll need to know what actually happened. Protect yourself first, even when it feels selfish, because no one else is going to do it for you. And when someone shows you exactly who they are, when they make it clear that your value to them is purely transactional, believe them. Believe them and act accordingly. I spent 8 months and $18,000 learning that lesson. The Maldives cost me $11,000. The peace I found was priceless. Some people might say I ruined my brother's wedding. I prefer to think I simply stopped participating in my own mistreatment. The wedding still happened. The marriage still fell apart. The debt still exists. None of that was my doing. All I did was remove myself from a situation where I wasn't wanted and take back what was mine. Tyler and Madison wanted a wedding that matched their aesthetic. They got exactly what they paid for. I wanted a life where I was treated with respect. I got that too. I sleep just fine these days. The water in the Maldives was the most beautiful blue I've ever seen, and sometimes, when I'm sitting on my balcony watching the sunset over San Diego, I think about floating in that impossible clarity, thousands of miles from everyone who had ever made me feel small. I think about how light I felt. I think about how I never want to feel that heavy again. My name is Brooke Castellano. I'm 30 years old now, and I work as a senior tax accountant in San Diego. I'm the person who reads the fine print, the person who keeps the receipts. Some people call that boring. I call it prepared.